Shabbat Shalom, my friends, and Chag Urim Sameach. Have a wonderful festival of lights. Happy Chanukah. And of course, Shana Tova. Have a very happy and healthy and peace-filled and joyous and productive and loving secular New Year. All those things are happening this week, right now. Okay, our Sedra is MIKETZ. Genesis 41:1 and following. Joseph survived his own arrogance and his father's rather dicey parenting skills, along with his brother's jealous wrath, only to find himself now cast into prison on the charge of sexually assaulting the wife of a high-ranking Egyptian official. I have only visited a penitentiary a few times in my life, and I can assure you, even the so-called country club prisons for white-collar criminals can be psychologically and physically difficult and traumatic places. They are not nice places to visit, and it's especially not nice when you are condemned to live there for a number of years. For a myriad of reasons, the story of Joseph continues to be celebrated and probed down through the centuries to this day. Back in the 1970s, I was able to get access to a pre-Broadway script of Joseph and his amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. And that became the centerpiece of our 10th grade confirmation classes activities. What a show we put on. The 10th grade Joseph, by the way, is one of those who regularly participates in these Shabbat study sessions. Hi, Mitch. And Nobel Prize winner Thomas Mann, of course, crafted a brilliant and extended retelling of Joseph's life as a youngster, as a slave, and then as a master of all of Egypt. During these long winter nights, might I suggest that you pick up Joseph Mann's study of Joseph, read it through. Masterful. So why does the story continue to attract the way it does? Why doesn't time somehow diminish its appeal? Shlomo Riskin finds its appeal in its capacity to address very contemporary concerns. Joseph, no surprise, was a narcissist. He didn't bother with the impact that his words would have upon others. He couldn't be bothered by the needs of others to be heard, or even simply by the existence of the reality that others also have needs. His was a self-satisfied, self-contained universe. Good old Joseph. Joseph had dreams. And of course, those dreams were all about what he felt to be his predestined rise to glory. A narcissist. That his dreams also signaled to his own immediate family that they would be bowing down before him was of little consequence. But a sharp, shocking encounter with his brother's rage initiated the process of Joseph's maturation. He began to hear, to sense, to experience the impact of his words upon others. During his imprisonment in Egypt, Joseph also learned how to listen. And thus he became aware that he was not the only one in town who had some dreams. So Riskin finds in the Joseph stories a highly attractive template for our own growth and maturation, and that's why the stories survive. Jonathan Sacks regards the same stories and considers other significant themes. Sacks sees here a powerful interplay between human autonomy and divine intervention, between free will and divine providence. Joseph will finally comfort his brothers by telling them that they might have had certain terrible intentions in mind, but God's intentions forever reign supreme. It is God, Joseph makes clear, who caused Joseph to move through all of his trials and thus prepared him to deliver his family and all of Egypt from the destructive power of famine. The brothers might have felt that they were exercising agency, but they were not. Joseph later correctly interpreted the dreams of the baker and the butler. As the price for his interpretations, he only asked that when their fate ultimately reflected his predictions, that they would remember him and seek from Pharaoh a pardon for Joseph. But that's not what happens. The interpretations were correct, but the moment the butler got out, he forgot that Joseph even existed. The baker, of course, to be forgiven, he was no longer around. Only then, when Pharaoh dreamed, was Joseph remembered, because only then were God's intentions for Joseph ready to be made manifest. Everything was put on hold until God's plan was prepared. We all surely remember that same pairing of conflicting views occurred when Moses confronted Pharaoh. Pharaoh considers himself to be a god who controls the fate of his people, but he would slowly, painfully learn that human will is a chimera. It is an illusion. Nothing can hinder or forestall the divine intentions. God's will wins. Sachs sees another compelling thread in the Joseph story. We read here that Pharaoh had two dreams, one about cows, the other about ears of grain. Joseph, of course, successfully interprets those dreams and is on his way to power and prestige. But there was another set of two dreams. Joseph himself launched the conflict with his brothers years ago by telling them of his twin dreams: heavenly bodies, sun, moon, stars, and sheaves of grain. The dreams of Pharaoh would become the ignition switch for the fulfillment of the much earlier dreams of Joseph. Divine providence, says Sachs. The fulfillment occurs when God says now. Sachs would also have us understand that we can never fully grasp what is happening to us while we are in the moment. Such understanding, Sachs says, flows only in retrospect. When we're experiencing pain or confusion or loss, or even when we're celebrating a noteworthy achievement or an occasion of significant public acclaim, the meaning of such events cannot be immediately determined. Don't be fooled. Think about it. Joseph was at the peak of his power, and he was therefore able to bring his father Jacob and all of his brothers and family down to Egypt. That must have been so satisfying for Joseph. But not so fast, because it is precisely the gathering of Jacob and his family into Egypt that would set the stage for the enslavement of our people for more than 250 years. Excuse me. Sachs believes that it is a serious human weakness to try to parse what is going on during the moment. We need to be patient. We need to allow things to unfold, to figure out if apparent blessings contain within them latent pain and suffering, or if current suffering contains within it latent blessings. From Sachs, we shouldn't be too quick to celebrate. And we shouldn't be too quick to bemoan our fate. Because after all, our ultimate fate lies within the power of the infinite, as Sachs puts it. We live in time, but God lives beyond time. So Riskin sees in the Joseph stories the very human account of a young man growing through youthful narcissism to a mature and responsible adulthood. Sachs sees in the Jewish stories a demonstration as to how human autonomy and divine intentions interact with one another, play off of one another. Both understand how deeply human it is to try to control our own destinies. We want to be in charge. Both understand how our choices necessarily collide with chance and with the choices of others, as well as perhaps with purposes that lie beyond our understanding. So what do? We keep on living. We keep on choosing. And then we keep on wondering for what we might have been chosen. That's it for today. So many good things are happening right now. The calendar is filled with them. Lift up your eyes. Open your hearts so that they might bring in light and joy. Shabbat Shalom, Chag Urim Sameach, Happy Secular New Year. Have a great week.